So first up, we would like to take this time and welcome Bill to our group, and we are greatly appreciative of you joining us, Bill. I think that you have a great perspective, and I think you will truly add to our group. I don't know if anybody else has anything to say. Welcoming Bill.
Yeah, I'll
Thanks,
jump in,
Diane.
Derek. I just want to say thanks also, Bill. I know we had talked about it for a little bit and just excited to see you here finally. So welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor and privilege. Thank
Have a
you.
good weekend. Have a great weekend. You too. George?
Yeah, Bill, welcome aboard. Been somewhat of a little bit of a wait, but we finally get to see you.
Thanks, George. Great to be here.
Absolutely. All right, so today is really kind of a quick meeting. We only have a few things to go through. We have the welcoming of Bill and a quick update on the grant status. So in talking with the state, they have everything that they need as far as our grant is concerned. The decisions on the grant will be hopefully early this fall. I did talk with them at one point. They needed me to reload our Parks and Rec open space, that 350-page document that we have. They couldn't open it at one point, so I had to upload that again, and that was the only question that they had for us. Everything else they said looked good, and that they would get back to us as soon as decisions had been made. As far as that is concerned, so I'm hoping to hear from them, like they said, early fall, when all the decisions are made. They had no other questions other than that. Anybody have any questions about the grant process?
I do. Well, I don't know if it's appropriate here, but I'm not familiar what the grant is. I don't know anything about it.
So yeah, sorry.
A little brief would be helpful, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
We get offline if that makes more appropriate.
Yeah, no. So we, as a town, have brought in the Collins Group, asking them to help us to actually get in line with what the state is requiring us to do by 2027. And they are going to work with us, and they are going to look at all of our trails, our different buildings, our sidewalks, to make sure that they are ADA compliant. We're going to take a specific group. We're looking for about $70,000 in order for the Collins Group to be able to do that. At one point, we had to match that dollar figure, and now we do not. So initially we had to have $35,000 in hand in order to do that. Now the state will give us the entire amount, hopefully give us the entire amount. But so we did all the research, sent all that to the Collins Group. They gave us the proposal. We uploaded that and gave it to the state back in May. And so now we're just waiting to hear from them to see whether they agree with us or don't agree with us. But they're the ones that say that we have to have all of this online and in line by 2027. So we're trying to get it done ahead of schedule and hopefully be able to apply for more grants.
Fantastic. Great to hear.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for sharing.
Okay, absolutely.
I just want to make comment with regards to Diane untying efforts with everything going on to get all that into the mass commission there with regards to this grant. So I'm really appreciated with the time that she put in on this, getting this thing together and finally getting it in there. Although we tried to have it chef ready, so when it come time to submit, we was able to submit it, and there was a few things we needed to get taken care of, but she finally got everything put together and got it loaded up and sent it to them. So just want to thank her for all that.
Well, it was, if I must say, George, it was a joint effort by this entire group, and you did a lot of work as well. And the select board, once we brought things to them, as soon as we brought it to them, they approved everything that we brought to them, and they didn't hesitate to make sure that we could go forward.
Yeah, but you're the one that spearheaded into it, so
yeah,
you can't take that. We all might did pieces here and there, but who did the founding? You was the one that pushed it in there. So thank
For
you.
sure.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you, Dan.
My pleasure. Okay, the next item is the signage that both Bill, who is new, and Eric are already working on. So if you'd like to update us on that.
I'll jump in real quick, Bill, if you don't mind.
You want to start us off? That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll offer this that a couple of years ago I had reached out to Jeff Dugan at Mass Office on Disability about the idea of updating some of the outdated language on the accessible parking spaces, the use of the word handicapped continuing and that sort of thing. And I'm almost ashamed to admit that when Jeff said it's a state level decision, and it would there were a few efforts at having it addressed in the past that didn't really go anywhere. Like given whatever priorities this commission has on our plate, right? Like I kind of was easily deterred, and I was excited earlier this week when Bill was able to give me a bit of a preview on some additional digging that he has done. So with that, Bill, I'm happy to hand it to you.
Yeah. So actually, I'll take a step back, if I may, just because I think it'll be helpful to share just why we're interested in addressing this. Because I think many of you might know, but a lot of people are not aware of the word handicapped and that it is offensive and why. So if I could just give a brief history of the term and where it comes from. It actually originated in a 17th century gambling game in England called Hand and Cap. It's a game where two players would exchange items of unequal value, and a neutral judge would decide the difference in value. Both players and the judge placed money in a cap, and if they agreed on the terms, the judge then kept the money, hence hand and cap. It then later became adapted in the 19th century to horse racing, as you may be familiar with horse racing, and also golf as well after that, to refer to disadvantaged assigned to better performing horses. From there, the term expanded to refer to any disadvantaged or impaired person or impediment someone might face. And so then later, as in the early 20th century, the term became used to describe people, right? And so the word handicap was used to reference people with physical or mental impairments, implying that the person had a disadvantage or limitation. And so this understanding really is in line with the medical model disability, viewing the person as a defect rather than the environment, right? And so, I myself I'm a placard user, or have one, and it's wonderful that there are spaces available for the disabled community, but to have that language on there, it's offensive. So I talked to Eric years ago about maybe we could address this in town, but as Jeff Dugan had told us, it is a legal thing, and so that's what I'm going to share now, is that it's actually currently a law. Let's see where to pull my notes here. Sorry. Yes. So it is part of the Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 22A, that states that accessible parking signs should state handicap parking, quote, handicap parking, special plate required, unauthorized vehicles may be removed at owner's expense. So as you probably know, just from driving around different parking spaces, not only about half the spaces actually have the required language. So there is a bit of a mix. And I did reach out to the Stephen at the Public Works Department to just ask about, that I was interested in addressing this. And he did tell me that the signs they're currently installing are just say reserved parking. So they don't have that language. So that's a good news. And he said he would assess the signs that do have the language just to get an inventory. So, and then I also reached out, actually what Eric and I followed up with Jeff Dugan to find out what's the status of it currently. And he didn't really have any information, but he was going to look in to see it. I didn't really hear back from him, so I did more research myself. And the good news is there is encouraging thing on this. There is a bill currently being considered by the legislature called Bill S-137. It's the act dignifying individuals with intellectual or developmental disabilities. And so this act seeks to, like others before it, as Eric referenced, this one seeks to address the offensive language towards the disabled community in mass general laws. Handicapped is one of them, the R word is the other. So and so I did some research to try to see if this bill actually addressed the specific thing we're concerned about, that item in chapter 40 regarding the specific language on signage. And I found out that it doesn't. But it does seek to change it. So what it is it just in that chapter alone, there's like, I think 18 to 20 references the H word. And so it actually, I figured out it addresses all of them. So anywhere that word appears in general law is addressed in this bill, as far as I can tell. The problem there is that there's a typo. So it's not offensive language, it's not appropriate. So the language they have right now in the current bill as it stands says to replace the word handicapped in that particular line of the bill with the word disability. The word disability isn't offensive, but it's not the right modality of the word, and it's not the right word. It should be accessible parking. Accessible parking is a commonly used, not only the right appropriate term, but it is used in a lot of signage, even in our own town. If you go to the MBTA station in town, that's an example of appropriate language that says accessible. And so I reached out to State Senator Aldrich, because they were the ones currently reviewing it in the Senate. I also reached out to Arciero, our representative, as well as the governor's office. I did not hear from those others, but I did hear luckily from Eldridge's office. Their team was very responsive. They adjust, I guess, it's being, let me just pull up what the page says right now. The last thing was it was reprinted as an amendment. So there was, in July 24th, they reviewed the bill and made some amendments. They did not make the amendment we wanted there. I had emailed them by then, but they hadn't processed and looked through what I had shared. But since the 24th, it was last week, I did hear back from David from the senator's team, acknowledging my email that, oh gosh, you're right, this is a mistake, and I will bring that up with the senator. So I did get validation of my concern. I shared with them, in detail as to why, and showed examples of signs that have the appropriate language. So I reached out again to see if there was an update on what's next steps and if the senator had considered it, but I haven't heard back. So I'll have more to share, I guess, in the future. But encouraging sign and it looks like it was unanimously approved, the amendment. So it's looked like it's moving forward and could actually be passed. And if nothing else, we're getting that H word out of there. So hopefully so this is encouraging. So then once that happens, then we can work, in town to try to get the signage, removed or taken away. And for me, I think this is more than just, having language on signs that's offensive to those of us that use the signs. It really is about getting that word out of cultural, use and language. Because they're on the signs everywhere, it's just so omnipresent. People feel this comfort. It validates the word and allows it to be used. And so nearly every time when somebody says something to me that's offensive and inappropriate or calling, that really trying to insult me, they always use that H word for whatever reason. So it is a particular sting. So if it would be a huge victory, let's say, if this could happen. And a step because this has been a thing that disability rights activists and the movement has been pushing for since the early 1990s, if not before that. The ADA doesn't have that language in it intentionally, right?
So I have a question.
If I could just add to the thing that's exciting about what Bill just shared to me is that, what I was originally perceiving from, a couple of years ago when Jeff replied to me was, basically starting at square one, as Bill uncovered here, we're not starting at square one. This thing is much further along, and it's actually got a real chance of making a difference here. So that was an exciting part of that update.
Oh, hugely, because I don't even know. I mean, this is my first, I knew nothing about government, really. This is my first take at it today, right? So I learned a lot through the process, and it was actually a difficult process to figure out how do I learn about a bill, what's in the bill. And I do see that there were other attempts in looking at the history that did fail, but it would be, I don't even know what the process is, but I can only imagine the effort and years of work that whoever brought this bill forward did, right?
I'm sure.
which is
So
why.
my
George,
question,
it-
oh,
it's,
go ahead, George.
it's amazing that you hear about this bill about the handicap here, and out of all my years and being on this committee here, I've never heard anyone bring up anything about the word handicap being
Well,
offensive.
you heard me bring it up a couple of years
it-
ago, George.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Yeah,
the people, not you,
right.
the people
Sure.
I
Yeah.
hear you. George.
that are handicapped and people that use it. I've never ever heard anybody bring up anything about the word handicap. I think sometimes people get lost on things that to me is not so significant. To me, I think that we should be concentrating on providing for the people with disabilities the services that they are rightfully due to be as an ordinary citizen without any disability. That's where I'm at. I don't get hung
Right.
up on the phonetics of words here with regards how far it goes back. I mean, there's some people that, they strive to, want to change these things. It's like it reminds me of the federal government wanting to change the name of military bases and so forth and so on and things that are there. I mean, that's history. And we can't live with history, it seems like, with some things. But anyway, that's my
Yeah, if I could respond to that. I'm not surprised you hadn't heard that. It's actually, in talking to the disabled community about language, I do a lot of public speaking around this stuff. A lot of people aren't aware. And, when I first, I've been disabled my whole life, but I didn't identify it until I was considered legally blind in 2018. And so I first went, does that mean I'm handicapped? So it was a journey for me to get to understanding that word. And if you look at the history, I don't want to go too far into it, but the history of the disability rights movement, early in the 20th century, that term was adopted by that group, people fighting for civil rights, right? But later people realized what the term really means, and it is degrading. It's very othering. And I think language is more important than people realize, because the way we speak about identities shapes how we think about them, and it shapes how we support and provide all the other things you're talking about that the community needs, right? And so it really starts there. And that's the areas I'm really passionate about, and I think it's important. Now, I can understand there's much more offensive words and languages, and handicap might be number one on people's lists, but it is something that's very present everywhere, and it can be easily addressed and could have a huge impact. And so what I think could be greater than anything else from this is how this could have a ripple effect for the community at large, and understanding, like, if people just know that just hearing that this word is offensive for the first time will get them thinking about how the relationship with the disabled community and understanding people with disabilities. I think a lot can go a long way with it, honestly.
And it's very similar, George, to how, I know in the disability rights movement, like, all of the isms that we hear about, like racism and sexism, and like, very few people are familiar with the concept of ableism. And that is something that, I think falls within our purview in this commission as well, is helping.
Yeah,
to kind
and
of
if it isn't,
influence
I'm
that.
leaving the commission immediately, because that's the most important thing we could address. And ableism involves physical spaces too. It's everywhere, and it's so accepted in our culture, ableism, that it isn't considered normal. And so I could go on for
I mean,
2 hours.
most people don't even realize that's a problem. Like, most people still have no idea it's a problem. It's like where, sexism or racism, like where they were decades ago, is still where ableism is,
Exactly. That's a great point. And just in the blind community, the word blind is used as a term for offensive terms for obliviousness and other things. It's just so embedded, people don't care, it can't be offensive. It is. And if I were to bring it up to certain individuals, they would get very defensive and say, how could it be? Even though it is, right?
Yeah.
So,
and
but
all
once
that
we
being
shift the
said,
culture and thinking, that can change. And then all of a sudden, I'm comfortable with my disability. I'm okay with progressively going blind and all the challenges that go with that. The physical things, not being able to drive, it sucks, but that I can deal with. What I can't deal with is how people treat me in public. That is difficult. And so if anything can be to address that, that is the greatest thing for all of our well-beings and lives going forward.
And all that being said, and not to undo any of that, but, also recognizing, to George's point, that this is a small committee, a volunteer group of people that are, coming together to, try and help our constituents within our community. So we've got, only so much bandwidth. So, I mean, being intentional about the projects that we're focused on and prioritizing accordingly, but also, another nice thing about this bill that already exists and is further along than any of us knew, I think is exciting. So
yeah, I'll be honest, because if it wasn't, I would say, like, I'd be agreeing with George. Maybe this isn't worth our time creating a bill, right? And that's probably why it hasn't happened in all the last 35 years, right?
Don't misconstrue what I say. Okay?
No, okay.
I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just telling you, out of my lifetime, and my time that's been on the Disability Commission, I am a 30-year veteran and I'm 100% disabled. But the fact is that there are things that some people really get into, and I look at different things. I look at this committee being a committee, a service to me is probably the most important thing to me, is that we can provide the service for the people that needs it, and for them to be able to function sort of kind of as ordinary people without any disability. So service to me is the name of the game. There's other things that people have compassion by. Listen, I don't knock anybody. They want to work on it, do it, that's fine. I'm just saying where I come from and where I've been and what I've seen. I have not seen where that there's been talk about that, because I guess I've been around a lot of disability people. I go to the veteran, to the VA, so we always talking about things with regards to this or that. So it's not like I haven't been around people that have disabilities. It's just that I've never known anybody to really just come up and make an issue about something about signage. Is just my concept as to what I haven't seen. Let me put it that way.
I feel like what you're articulating too, George, is just ensuring, like, this commission ensuring equitable experiences for all Littleton residents, regardless of their disability status, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why I want to join the commission. I'm really interested in the holistic aspect of supporting not just ramps for buildings, but everything that supports our individuals with disabilities. Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I have a quick question. So the town's changing our signs. Is that not legal?
In regards to
Well, I
don't think we should be changing. I don't think we should be changing any signs until we have the authority to do so.
Yeah.
Okay.
If there's new signs, they will issue a directive and say that this is now being replaced, and you probably can get the signs from the state at a small cost. Because years ago on this disability, I went throughout the entire town of Littleton and cited all parking and the number of spaces in accordance with the regulation as to what signage that they should have and what number of spaces that they should have had, and so forth and so on. And we order signs, and at one time, DPW was holding the signs and they would place signs in place at certain businesses and so forth, because instead of the business not doing it, the town had enough money there that we went ahead and bought the sign signage and said that we will put it up at no cost because we wanted to have the space, but they had to mark the spaces that was in a parking toller as that they had to give us whatever the number of van spaces versus regular parking spaces. And I did that for the entire town. To include, I went to our farm stands as well and told them that they needed to have the ability to let people with handicap, enter into their facility, and by whether they was walking or whether they was in a wheelchair, and they had to have at least one space, which would be for van or either a regular car to park there. So I did that back years ago there with the town, because the farm stands were actually not picked up in our regulation with regards to being able to have accessibility for them to get into these stands and so forth.
All right.
I think we have to wait for if this law is this close to passing, then let's see what it goes with that, and then that'll give us a much better position. And if it doesn't pass, then we can discuss what to do there.
Okay.
And George, if you're interested in learning more about language and all that, I can recommend the book. There's a great book that I recommend to everybody who wants to just a starter to it called Demystifying Disability: What to Know, What to Say, and How to Be an Ally by Emily Latta. I can share that link with you later if you're interested. But when people are trying to understand language and etiquette and how to be an ally, I always refer to that one. It's a great starting point.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So today we have a visitor with us. Rob Rounce is here. And he would, I told him that we would give him 5 minutes to share with us what he would like to do as far as asking for our support regarding the school. Rob?
Well, I think we should give him about 4 minutes and 53 seconds.
Okay.
Thanks,
Rob,
George.
The floor is yours.
Okay.
So first, I want to welcome Bill. I feel very fortunate, Bill, that my paths have crossed with yours, and I'm very excited to see you on this group. I think this group can be very, very effective and is effective, and it's really my belief in this group being effective as to why I'm here today, because I want your involvement with regard to the Shaker Lane School. I feel pretty strongly that as I've been getting involved in the building proposal, that I'm not confident that there's enough interaction, despite the many years that they've been working the process. I'm not satisfied that their connections with existing groups, whether it's Disability Commission, Park and Rec Commission, Sustainability Committee, I'm not convinced that there's been adequate engagement between the various groups that I, as a resident, rely on, and I appreciate all you volunteers and everything that you do. So it's with that I just want to speak to you today and appreciate the opportunity. I think it's unfortunate that the MSBA process takes 7 years. They've been working on this school proposal since 2018. I think it's unfortunate that this Littleton school was not allowed to get in the program when they first requested it before 2018. And the process takes this long a period of time, and I don't want it any further delayed. I think that there are many elements at Shaker Lane right now that are not ADA compliant. Parking entrances, doors, signs, toilet rooms, plumbing fixtures, a hydraulic lift. It just goes on and on. The playground, the surface. It's just phenomenal how inadequate that school is at the present time. And to go on to your previous conversation, the parking spaces there, say the word that you're talking about. They're all right there, right for all young learners to see and start their own, awareness of language, and they're being exposed to that word. It's bad. It needs to get replaced quickly. I'm all for what I just heard. I think the new school that's proposed has many great things, extended learning dens with all kinds of space that does not exist currently in order to address young learners, young kids, young students, to allow them the space and opportunities to work with specialists. And I think that there's other aspects that a new school can bring. I went over to Groton's Florence Roche School and saw the playground, and I was blown away by the rubber flooring, the open spaces, the not just ADA compliant accessible, but wheelchair accessible equipment in terms of spinners and teeter-totter and open spaces. It's phenomenal what can be done in today's world versus the building that began in 1962. So it's with that I start my list for what I'm asking of you. I think that your involvement, and I would request it now, not later, but now. I've asked the same thing of Park and Rec, and because if you're able, I think your perspectives, Bill, much like your perspective with regard to language, you folks see things. I see I'm about to get low battery, so let me change there. I apologize. I need to hook this up or else I'm going to be exiting out here momentarily. So excuse me. I think it's very unfortunate that people that are very capable and professional may not have the awareness that you folks have, and therefore your input's necessary. Right now, they have a schematic design. I suspect that it's okay, but I also suspect that as they go into details design, which will happen quickly after the yes vote, that's the time where you're critically needed for you to bring your awareness and your perspectives to the table. So I would encourage you, and I'll be happy to be a conduit if it's requested of me, to get with the building committee for Shaker Lane or the school committee to broker conversations between you and get agreement now on what your involvement will be, the how and when. I think that should be accomplished now. I don't want it to wait until, after the vote and then just assume it's going to happen, because I feel strongly it should happen. With that, I'm also asking for you, I don't want to wait another 7 to 10 years. I want the school. I don't like what I see. I'm very much concerned with many different aspects, but certainly one of them is the lack of what I feel and the offensive aspects that exist in that building that need to be fixed a long time ago. And I think you folks and your voice, I'm asking for your voice. I'm asking for you to vote as a disability commission to say, we want this now. We want it. And should you need to take a separate vote, I want your vote. Should you vote to say yes and endorse it, then I want to get the language to you of the article so that you can read the language, be familiar with it, and before September 22nd, take a vote to say, yes, you will allow your name to be added into that town meeting report so that everybody else can see the Disability Commission line up with others to say, we want this now. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. Again, I thank you for what you do, and open to questions, or I appreciate the opportunity to just make my concerns and my requests of you known.
Open up to questions or concerns or just comments. Bill?
I don't Well, I appreciate, first of all, I really appreciate you coming to us and starting with the idea of bringing us into the fold to consult or advise or give feedback on the process. I think when I initially heard you start to speak, that was one of the first things I was thinking about. So I appreciate that. As far as regard to whether I would support the building of the school, I don't know enough about it. So I'd have to learn more about it. And so I'd be willing to take the time with you or whatever the process to understand it. I don't doubt, because both my kids are alums of Shaker Lane School. It's been about 8 years since they've been there, but even back then, it was definitely it needed some upgrading, and I don't doubt there's issues there with ADA compliance and other things. And so a new school would, I would assume, address some of that. But when thinking about the disabled community and our needs overall, it's more than just accessible ramps and classrooms that are more inclusive. It's also about the economic impact, because the disabled community is affected by economic issues disproportionately higher than most, right? So we have to think about all the things. What's it going to cost taxpayers? How much are we going to be involved? How much does our suggestions going to be a part of that? All these things are things that I'm thinking about. So I couldn't respond to that, but I am encouraged by it, and I'd be willing to be a part of that process of advising and supporting the effort to, at least in the design of this project, make sure that ensuring they're doing the right things.
Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo Bill's support, but also confess not being fully aware of where things stand. I mean, one thing that jumps to mind for me, specifically with regard to the new school, is like, I don't have a handle on where things stand in that process, or like in my day job, like, a big part of what we think about it, when it comes to accessibility, is vendors. Like, where are our vendors? Or in this case, like, where are the contractors, the builders? Where are they in terms of maturity around accessibility? Like, are they aware of it, the requirements? Are they, adhering to, the standards and things like that? And so, I would like to know more about how a contractor, is selected or vetted, and, taking in, accessibility and kind of these standards and laws into account as part of the process. I mean, one thing that we say with regards to accessibility is like shift left. And what that means is like the earlier, the better, the sooner in the process, either from, the design phase or the even, planning or conception phase. Like, the sooner you can have the accessibility conversations, the better, because, going back and trying to correct things later on is so much more costly and painful for everyone. So yeah, I'm in support, but yeah, would like to better understand where things stand as well.
George?
Yeah, well, I've been working on this situation, trying to educate people here in Littleton with regards to that. I have this Straight Talk show on LCTV. I talk a lot about Shaker Lane and so forth, and economic situations, the number of people that will be affected financially wise, and the costs. I just spoke with the chairman of FinCom, and right now the school is at $98.1 million. They are going to have a meeting on the 28th of this month, next month, which is the 2nd of September. And they're supposed to give us a current picture of Shaker Lane School from a financial point of view. And they believe that they're going to get a larger MSBA grant, which is now at, they've been speaking about around $29.4 million. They're thinking that's going to be up. And they're looking at the debt exclusion right now with what they have at hand is running about $800 and I think $47 for the average home here in Littleton, that the taxes would go up. We're also, at this point in time, doing an assessment of the property on the Prop 2.5. It's done every 5 and 10 years. So I spoke with the chief assessor Wednesday, and she's going to be getting the report in on the assessment the 29th of this month. And she told me to check back with her the first week of September, and she can give us more information, can give me more information about certain questions that I had with regards to this. A lot of people did not know until I brought it out on my show and before the select board, telling people that we're bailing out, and thank God. And I spoke to her yesterday. We only have one commercial property in the town of Littleton that had to be redistributed, and that was with IBM. The 600 and some $1,000 that they was collecting from IBM under the state law, when they empty out up there, the town of Littleton is entitled to collect the amount that they assessed at, which was at 600 and some dollars. We as taxpayers, between commercial, industrial, and resident, we are paying that 600 and some $1,000 to the town of Littleton for that property. It has not reached back to the $60 million is where that fee came in. So the last couple of years, I think we've had $130 included in our tax. That is for the $650,000 that the town is entitled to collect. As far as the new school go, under stature in the state on building new property, they have to conform to the ADA standards, which means the architects know that they have to put in all this handicap stuff in terms of height for sinks, the size of the bathroom, the bars, the toilets, everything, the sidewalk, all that stuff. They have to put all that in place in the new buildings. They know that. So we as a committee, in my opinion, do not have to endorse to say, building Shaker Lane School, you need to make sure you put this in there, because that is already in the mix. We don't have to do that. We don't have to tell them that. The building inspector will also make sure that these things are in place, and we get a chance as a committee to go out and inspect and find out if everything is in there that's supposed to be, and accordingly. So we do not really have to put an endorsement to the building process. Sure, I have some reservations about certain things, which I talk about on my Straight Talk TV show. But for me to say, yes, we as a committee need to go forth and tell the town, you need to do this, I think that's unnecessary. We don't have to do that. That's already is inclusive in building new property in the state of Massachusetts. So it's already covered under law. And that's where we are with regards to that.
Anybody else, Diane, or can I respond?
So I just want to say that, as I know I'm on the Disabilities Commission, but people look at me as the town clerk, and so unfortunately, I have to abstain from making any comments one way or the other, because if I say that I will endorse or I won't endorse, people are going to say, oh, the town clerk said this or the town clerk said that. So unfortunately, I have to abstain from it. But yes, you can comment back, Rob.
Okay.
I'll give you a
Thank
couple
you.
more minutes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I think first I'll certainly work Bill and Eric to address your comments with regard to data. If you're open, I'll be happy to send you material, or I'll offer you up my name number in order to try to speak offline. I think you're similar to many other people that I'm speaking with who aren't fully knowledgeable, and it's in that spirit that I offer that. With, again, clearly I'm an advocate for it. George, so just let me know if you're open to that, and I can route it through Diane. George, with regard to your statements, I take a different approach. I've watched your Straight Talk presentations, the last two, and with regard to what I think I heard was a confidence that if the building is created, you don't have to be involved, because you can be confident that the contractors will have requirement, and building commissioner will have to ensure that it's ADA compliant, et cetera. I would say this, that the design detail phase that's coming up will allow you to have sway with regard to aspects of equipment that may not be articulated in those various, what are the requirements? And for example, the playground area, while I'm sure it'll have the rubber surface, I suspect that's ADA requirement, but the aspect of open spaces and having wheelchair accessible, I'm not certain that wheelchair accessible is necessary with regard to ADA, and hence your voice is, I think, appropriate at that detail design phase, which is why I asked. With regard to stepping back and about you folks endorsing the vote, you're making, what I heard you say is when the building's constructed, it'll be ADA compliant. What I'm saying is your voice is absolutely critical right now to say what exists at Shaker Lane right now is not acceptable. And we need, and we want, as a disability commission, we want to inform you residents that it's time to get this done. And we can have a new building which is ADA compliant, much like you said, George. The only way we get that done is by saying yes. And if we defer and say no, we're looking at another 7 to 10 years after we say no before this vote of, like you said, Stephen Nudi's correct, August 27th, new numbers coming, might be as much as $35 to $40 million coming to Littleton residents. And without it, we get no Shaker Lane building. So you as a disability commission, in my opinion, have an imperative need to make your voices known. Diane, I respect your position as town clerk. I don't want to be confused about that. I fully respect that. But as a disability commission, your voice needs to come through loud and clear. This is needed now, not 7 to 10 years from now. And with that, I hope I've addressed the statements that were made. And again, I offer up, and if you could let Diane know, because I'm putting in a lot of time and trying to do what I can to engage others like yourselves and other Littleton's boards, committees, and commissions to get involved in order to get this done.
I first and foremost, I respect everybody's opinion, irregardless where you stand at. But I have faith too, in knowing that, we just built the senior center over there, and we didn't endorse or say for the seniors, you're going to need to do this and that, because we have seniors in different physical categories that will be coming to that building. And they put in that building and built that building with stuff that's required under ADA, and it passed the inspection, and the architect engineers knew exactly what was what. For instance, in the front, they had to have that as a flat level area entry into that building, because initially when they had it, they had granite curb that was going to go across the front there. And they said, no, we need this down flat with the surface because of wheelchairs and so forth, and people with canes, crutches, and so forth. So I have faith that the architect engineers have built in to their system the things that is going to be required. I mean, there's a process where that the building superintendent is going to inspect as they're going along, and we have talked to Diane, and I have talked to the building inspector when he came on board, and saw history about how this commission operates, and that we were involved in projects, and we like to go along and inspect and make sure that the things that are done correctly. It's just like what's the hall next door to the town hall? What's that?
Hager Homestead.
The homestead there. We did the same thing there, and we went over and we inspect. And the building inspector, before he gave them the occupancy permit, there was a gig list that they had to take care of. So I do believe that will be taken care of. Now, where the Shaker Lane school condition now, yeah, there's a lot of things that going back, many years ago, a lot of things should have been done to Shaker Lane over there that wasn't done. But with the new school, I don't have any doubt that we will get the needed equipment in that building that's going to serve for our special ed children and those that with any type of physical disability, for heights and the width to turn the wheelchair around in the bathroom and so forth and so on. So me personally, I don't have any doubt that we're going to get that. And as a person on the commission, I don't see a need for me to vote and tell them to do what they already know that they have to do.
I think the point that I need to stress is, so I agree with you, the contractors will know what ADA, elements need to be placed in the building. That's not my point. My point is, you're the Disability Commission. Before you is a vote. If you don't vote yes and lend your voice, then your voice is silent on the matter of, are we going to do it now after 7 years of work, or are we waiting 7 to 10 years before we allow that ADA compliant building with everything that, as you just said, it will be built to those standards, and you may even be able to go more than just the standards through your involvement. You may be able to get wheelchair accessible as opposed to just a lesser threshold, if it exists, of ADA compliant. But your silence is going to be heard on this matter, and your voice, if you endorse, will be heard with regard to, we need our residents of Littleton to have a better building. And unlike your reference to Center and Shattuck Street didn't have a likely $35 to $40 million, grant being available. You spoke grants earlier today. This is a 35 to 40 million. Is the new Shaker Lane going to be built without the MSBA grant? Absolutely not. Will the toll taken as Bill and Eric pointed out with regard to costs, will that have a devastating effect with Littleton taxpayers? It would. So therefore, there will be no Shaker Lane new building without a yes vote for 7 to 10 years. That's a decision that I'm coming as a resident looking to you, the Disability Commission, to get behind and to step up and speak to. And with that, I thank you for all the time you've given me. It's more than I expected. I hope I've been clear with the role that I believe you have the opportunity to be heard, and your silence will also be noticed.
Okay, so if I
Can I jump in, or am I
Sure.
going to be just cut out of this conversation?
No.
Okay.
No.
I've had my hand raised for a long time here.
Sorry. Yep.
I disagree completely with George. I'm gonna make that stated. I think that ADA, I wouldn't trust any building to be built not only just meeting ADA standards, but that should be the floor, the absolute floor, as far as considering access. I think the sooner we can get it in the process of any design in town of any building, the better. And if we can be invited, I would welcome any opportunity, including this one. It's critical. I come, just so people know, my background is art and design. I'm a designer. This is, looking at things holistically beyond the woods, not the whole forest, not the trees, and assessing all the needs and things is something that's my background and that's my interest, right? And so when I look at and assess buildings, it's more than just, does it have a ramp that you can actually get in? Is it designed in a way that's respectful to not only people with disabilities, but to everyone? And it's not something that's an afterthought. Sure, there's a lot of afterthoughts that can meet ADA standards, or just poorly designed things that meet ADA standards. Even just the Shattuck building, I've never been in it, but I tried walking around it to scope it out, and it's not accessible just walking around the building. So I can say that building it doesn't meet my standards, and I've never even been in it because it's locked. So I would say, also, I would say that it is discouraging to hear that, the Shaker Lane School is not up to standards. And I think regardless of what happens with the school being built, that should be something of focus for us to make sure that it is. So that should just be a given that it meets that floor level I was talking about. But, I would be interested in hearing more about the financial aspects of all this, what it would cost and all those things, but then also what the positive potential gains are. Because when you're starting with a new design, you can get, and we can put input in. I think there's potential to come up with some pretty creative solutions to things that could really benefit the classroom, not just getting access so you can actually physically maybe get in the classroom, but actually an environment that's inclusive to really productive learning for everybody and feels comfortable. So for students with disabilities, it's not just about getting in there, it's about feeling a sense of belonging. And so if that's something that we can foster through the design, and as I think Eric made some really critical points about who the contracts are willing they are to listen to our feedback and take in our feedback. I've had little experience with this stuff, being asked to advise on these things, and sometimes it's not very well received. And so if that's the case, I wouldn't endorse anything related to that.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Madam Clerk, I want to state that I have not, since I've been on this committee, endorsed anything with regard to include the library or any building that the town has built for the disability to go and recommend to the town, yes, you do this. So I am not one for this committee going and doing that, because I have not had the opportunity to see anywhere that we have been involved and we had to go. Rob, you may be out trying to get votes for the school, because that's what I'm hearing that you're saying, the vote yes for the school. But I think the committee has a mission, and I don't think that mission is for us to go and tell the town, yes, you need to do this.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I'll stop.
Rob, yep. Okay.
I'll stop. I just like to, I think your mission statement exactly says what I'm asking you to do.
Okay. Okay. All right. So at this point in time, is it our wish to take a vote, or do we, because I'm hearing you, Bill, and I'm hearing you, Eric, that you don't know enough about the project to take a vote. I have to abstain, and George has stated that he does not want to to support.
Yeah, I don't know
So-
enough, and I would
Okay.
want to consider George's point about whether it's even appropriate or not. I have to take more
Yeah.
time to look at all these
Okay.
things before I could
All right.
have.
So, yeah, so at this time, Rob, we're not going to take a vote because two members don't know enough about it. And I have to abstain. And so, we might consider it, at our next meeting, but at this point in time, we can't take a vote to support or not support. But we appreciate the fact that you came in, brought it forward, and, I know that you offered to have a conversation with both Eric and Bill offline, and, they may take you up on it, but thank you very much. Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
And I believe, we just now need to, we can either do the rest of our schedule for the next couple of months, or we can just schedule our next meeting for September. What does everybody?
We can schedule, the next meeting for September, if you wish.
Okay.
Were we following a second Friday of the month at noon? Is that what we were following?
We were trying to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be the 19th. Does that work? Or is that? Because let's see, wait a minute. So actually the 5th, that would be the 12th, sorry.
we don't have nothing for early elections and nothing September, do we? Okay.
No,
Same time, right? Noon, right? The 12th.
12th at noon. Does
Yeah.
that work for everybody?
Yeah, 12 usually work for me.
Okay. So September 12th at noon. And do we want to continue doing just the second Friday unless it doesn't work for somebody? We can just do the second Friday of each month unless there's either a holiday or something in there or somebody has an issue.
I feel
Where
like-
Gary is okay with it, I guess that's been working, but recently, he's, been away a couple times there. but
Yeah,
I know that second
Alright.
Friday usually has been working pretty good.
okay. All right, so we'll go with the second Friday at noon for the rest of this calendar year anyways, and then, okay. All right, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Did we have the minutes?
I
Okay.
forgot to put that on there, so we can't,
Oh, okay, all right.
sorry. We'll take them up next, we'll do two months next time.
Move to
Well,
adjourn.
Make the motion that we
All right.
adjourn. Okay, Eric, you make the motion, I second it.
All right, George, Bill,
I thirded. I don't know what the right term is here.
no,
Sorry.
just say aye.
Aye.
Eric
Aye.
and George,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. We are adjourned at 1:04.